Hello, everybody. Welcome to today's Expert Q&A webinar, where you get to ask your questions of our brilliant Facebook ads guests, who are as featured on this month of the Keep Optimizing podcast. I may sound slightly more confused than usual on this particular webinar. That's because it's been a day of crazy here at eCommerce MasterPlan. One, because I'm working on a massive project that I'm not allowed to tell any of you about, which is really, really annoying, but I can't tell any of you about it, which has totally destroyed my to-do list and my focus in good ways, but in bad ways too. And secondly, because of what you can see on your screens, which is this morning, just to properly destroy my day in a very lovely way, LinkedIn named me one of 5 top voices in retail in the UK, which is kind of mind-blowing, kind of mad, very cool. And of course, because that's the case, right now, StreamYard will not post to LinkedIn. So if you were hoping to tune in on LinkedIn, welcome to the replay. Not my fault. They are trying to fix it. We shall see what happens. Oh, the irony. But if you'd like to find out what I talk about on LinkedIn, which apparently is quite good, LinkedIn think it's good. Their editors like it. You can find me on LinkedIn at chloelink.com/LinkedIn, which is this one here. Anyway, that is very much not what you're here to listen to today, because we're not here to talk about LinkedIn. We're here to talk about Facebook, more specifically Facebook ads. And I've got a lovely set of experts here today to help you out and to answer your questions. So if you've got questions for them, please add your questions in the chat box. You're probably on YouTube, because right now we apparently can't go out to LinkedIn. So please submit your questions and I will do my best to get them in front of our panelists. That means that you need to ask those questions sooner rather than later. We are only going to be here for 45 minutes. So ask them soon. If you don't ask them to the last 5 minutes, there's a very strong chance I am not going to be able to ask your questions. So who have I got? Whilst you're hopefully typing some questions in for us, who have I got on this? Well, we got Jonny Hyams from Digital Gearbox. He's back again, second time this year. Jonny did a brilliant episode on how to use AI to improve your Facebook ad processes and creativity, and I'm sure we'll end up talking a little bit about that in the show today. Jonny and Digital Gearbox have been kind enough to sponsor the podcast this month, so you can get, as well as them sponsoring, you can also get free one-on-one ads consultations. There's only 2 left at this point in time, so act fast. At keepopt.com/digital gearbox. Type that in and you'll go straight to the page on their website that will enable you to go and find out all about that. So Jonny and team at Digital Gearbox, thank you very much for that. We're all very appreciative. We've also got Aggie Meroni from White Bee Digital, and you can check out White Bee Digital at whitebeedigital.com. And also, Aggie is also very interesting to follow on LinkedIn. Personally, I think her posts are better than mine. So you can also follow Aggie on LinkedIn. Just search and you'll find her. She's very easy to find, like me. And then we've got a lovely stand-in. So because brilliant Jessie Healy is in an inconvenient time zone and having a very busier planned day than me today, she has been unable to join us, but she's brought in a super sub for us. And I just tested about the wrong person, because that super sub was going to be Charlotte. Charlotte, unfortunately, cannot join us today. She may turn up later, but she's not here. So I told you, brain screwed. I blame LinkedIn and this secret project. So Charlotte, we may see later. It's a mystery. However, the super sub we do have with us is the brilliant Ali Williams from Pink Leopard. And what's even better than that, is it even better than that? I don't know. I think Ali being here is probably the best thing. Second best thing is they're running a webinar on TikTok, which I know is a hot topic for many of you. You can get hold of the TikTok webinar. Go and sign up for that at pl.pinkleopard.co.uk/TikTok-webinar-2022. And I'll be pinging that link out in the comments shortly. I think everyone will be really, really glad to know. I'm going to stop solo talking to you all now. And we're going to get our experts up on screen who really do know what they're talking about. And we'll get them to introduce themselves, and then we will go into some Q&A. So I expect you're as relieved as I am that Chloe's attempt at an intro is now over. Let's find out from each of you a little bit more about you, what you're doing here, and your companies, and so on and so forth. Jonny, I'm going to pass over to you first of all.
Hello, thank you. Yes, so I am Jonny Hyams. I am the head of client services at Digital Gearbox. We're a paid media specialist agency. So all we do is Facebook ads, Google ads, LinkedIn ads, Microsoft ads, anything with ads in it, apart from Twitter ads. Don't like Twitter ads. We are based in Bicester, Oxfordshire, near the very famous Bicester Village. So if you ever want to come and do some shopping whilst talking Facebook ads, come speak to me. What else do you need to know about me? I am very short. I'm 5'5". My hair is resistant to combs. I cannot eat cheese, and I am addicted to Coca-Cola.
I'm still just, Jonny, loving the fact that you've just used the excuse of being able to expense the mileage to Bicester Village as a reason to pick your ad agency. I think that's brilliant. And to be fair, there are times in my career where that would have been enough. Right. Let's go to Ali first. Ali, how are you? And tell us a bit about yourself and what you guys do at Pink Leopard.
Hi. I'm just so buzzing from being called a super sub. That's like, yeah, excellent intro. Thank you. I'm the paid social specialist at Pink Leopard. We're based in Birmingham, but we're kind of a worldwide team, and we specialize in Facebook ads, Instagram ads, email marketing, Google ads. So a boutique agency, but I've been there since January. I've got freelance experience from that, but I've been running Facebook ads for knocking on 4 years now after starting life as organic social marketing. And if Jonny's short, I'm super short because I'm only 5'3". Didn't realise we were giving out
5'2".
I'm a giant today.
Yay.
You picked the right webinar to be on, Jonny. Okay, and last but definitely not least, Aggie, please tell us about what you guys get up to at White Bee Digital.
I don't actually know how to follow those intros. I am 5'5". That seems relevant. I'm a paid social specialist. I manage ads on Facebook, Instagram, Pinterest, and TikTok. I work with e-commerce brands. It's such a wide spectrum. It can be brands that are just starting out and they just need some one-on-one support to get going, to 8-figure businesses. So really broad strategies for those kind of two ends of the spectrum. And I spoke to you about Advantage Plus shopping campaigns when we spoke for the podcast. So that's something that I'm loving at the moment.
Oh, and that brings us into, I was wondering what we were going to start off with. I was trying to make up my mind, which, as you've all realised today, is a terrible idea, putting Chloe in charge of anything. But I think you've just teed up a brilliant one there, Aggie, which is the Advantage Plus shopping campaigns, which I feel like a lot of people aren't too sure of at the moment, aren't sure what they should be doing with at the moment. Obviously, they should go back and listen to your episode. I know we had a whole debate going on in my small little community about shouldn't I be using it. The agency say I should. Everyone else was telling me I couldn't, and then it was all got very, very confusing. So Aggie, we'll start with you on this one because obviously you did the episode on it, but then Jonny, Ali, I want your perspective as well. What are you someone who right now is looking forward towards Q4, should they be getting it set up? Should they be testing it? If they've got it set up, what they should be doing? What's your top advice? Broad old question. What's your top advice on Advantage Plus campaigns at the moment? Aggie, I'm going to come to you first.
So there's two things. First is, have you advertised before? And the second is, what is your budget? So these are two things that are really going to sort of decide on how you approach this. If you're completely new to advertising, so maybe you've just launched your website, maybe you've got a brand new pixel, maybe your social media accounts aren't really that mature yet, so you haven't got much data, I would say that if you really want to start advertising, I wouldn't necessarily start with Advantage Plus. I'd probably start on the more traditional kind of campaign structures where you steer Facebook into the kinds of audiences that may be interested in your product. However, if you're just starting out and your budget's low and you do decide to give them a go, you really can just get started with Advantage Plus shopping campaigns without anything else. So if you have like £30 a day, for example, you could just get started with them and see how they go. If you're a more advanced or a more longer term advertiser, you can give them a go now because you've got data on the pixel. So Facebook will have an idea of who's been interacting with you and buying from you. I'd say if you're, again, on a really small budget, I would just use your whole budget on Advantage Plus shopping campaigns. If you have a higher budget, and by that I mean anything sort of £100 plus a day, then I would use a blend. So use your Advantage Plus shopping campaigns to target your cold audiences, and then you can retarget your warm and your hot audiences with more traditional campaign structures.
Whoa. There was loads there. That was
very succinct. That's my advice.
That was cool. Jonny, anything you would pick out of that or add to that? Because you see you're thinking.
Yeah, I mean, I listened to Aggie's episode on my commute this morning, so I'm really conscious about not just parroting what Aggie's already said. My main thought around Advantage Plus shopping campaign is that it's a lot less around the traditional media buying activities. You're not choosing your audiences. You're not worrying about setting bids or bid strategies. Facebook takes care of all of that for you. So it all comes down to the creatives and, importantly, the copy. I think copy is really, really important when it comes to Advantage. I mean, Facebook ads in general, but Advantage Plus in particular. My understanding, and this might be wrong, but my understanding is that Facebook takes cues from the primary text to figure out who it should be targeting with the ads. Again, that might be wrong, but that is what I've heard from multiple other people. So you want to make sure that your copy is really high quality there. You don't want to just have something really generic. You want it tailored to the type of language your audience would use. But more importantly than that, actually, is the persuasiveness and salesmanship of that copy as well. Our episode was around using AI tools like ChatGPT to speed up the sales process, the ad creation process, and you can use that. But I do still think it's really worthwhile making sure you have a good understanding of copywriting best practices. Because ChatGPT will create something that's technically very good, good grammar, good spelling, or maybe throw a pun in there for you. But good copy comes down to understanding human psychology and understanding how to convince somebody, how to pull those particular psychological levers to convince them to buy. And ChatGPT isn't very good at that just yet. So you want to be able to sort of marry those AI tools with your own deep understanding of copy to create ad copy on your ads that are really good to get the most out of Advantage Plus, which I think is what you asked me about. I've talked so long now, I've actually forgotten what the question is.
It was a while ago, but I like it, and I like you said about the primary copy we think they're using to influence the buyer segment. That's definitely, it's kind of one of those things you hear going around the industry, and it's like, right, what we should take from that is let's test it. Let's test wildly different primary copy and see what happens, see if this is affecting ours. Ali, is there anything left to add on Advantage Plus? Do you have any additional tidbits of advice for our audience?
No, I mean, we tested it running alongside your standard top of funnel, bottom of funnel, and it was in a campaign that was very kind of location specific. So we tried it in this campaign recently, and it absolutely flew. But my thing was it was having the right budget. So we kind of kept it. I mean, the word on the street I'd heard was nothing less than £50 a day if you're working on a daily budget. And we popped our best performing creatives into that. And yeah, I loved it. And I listened to Aggie's podcast as well. So it kind of reassured that it just wasn't a fluke, and it wasn't, just this one campaign. That is definitely the way to go.
Everyone
I have a question for other people.
Oh, give us two seconds, Jonny. I'm going to plug the podcast, and then you can jump in. But see, even our experts are listening to the podcast. That's how good it is. Jonny, you had a question you wanted to ask.
Yeah. I forgot what it is now. Oh, yes. Has anybody else found an easier way to take your existing creators from an existing campaign and get them into the Advantage Plus? Because right now I'm just recreating them from scratch, and that is a pain in the bum.
the only way you can do it is if it's from like a traditional campaign into Advantage Plus. If it's from one Advantage Plus to another, you can't, and that's just so frustrating. So I agree, it just wastes so much time. You have to recreate everything.
Facebook.
Ali,
We'll add it to
you
the
found
list of things that annoy us.
Yeah.
Yeah, let's try and avoid this turning into a Facebook rant. So easy to do when you get on any of these events. So easy to do when you get people who do similar things in a virtual room together. We mentioned AI there. We mentioned the fact that it's time consuming and annoying that you can't bring ads across. We mentioned AI in your episode, Jonny, especially about how we can use it not to do our jobs for us, but to save us time in the creation process. I'm going to ask Aggie and Ali this question first. Are you guys using AI yet? It feels like everyone's talking about it, but a lot of us, me included, are not really using it yet. So are either of you using it? Have you got any tips you'd like to share yet?
No.
Ali, you're shaking your head.
Yeah. I'm kind of hesitant because we have an amazing copywriter at Pink Leopard who so yeah, I've tried it and I like it, and I love Jonny's podcast. It kind of told you about training it, so I've had a really good play with it. But at Pink Leopard, it's like, no, we've got this precious copywriter, and lo and behold, we don't kind of stray far away from her.
Got you. Yeah, if you've already got the skills in house, it's a tricky one to justify, isn't it, Aggie?
I've dabbled. The only thing I've used it for so far, and this is just because I just kind of get stuck on variations of how to word certain things, especially when I've been working with a certain client for a long time. I just feel like I need a new way to skin the cat, and that's always in my BOF. So it's always that really like one sentence copy you need, the punchy line, and you kind of just need new ways to rephrase things. And I won't necessarily use what I get from the generator, but there might be a certain phrase or way that something's kind of structured. I think actually that's quite good. I can just put that, like mix that with what I was doing, and it just kind of helps me sort of reword things. So I haven't actually used it as copy, because when I have tried, it's not been great. It hasn't been at all in the tone of voice of my ideal customer. The vocabulary they use is really weird, and how they word things just sounds very unnatural.
Yeah,
but just to use, like, to pick out new synonyms that you can use or things like that, I think it's really helpful.
I think that resonates with me in a couple of ways. Don't worry, Jonny, you're going to get a chance in a second. That resonates with me in a couple of ways. One of which is I was talking to someone somewhere about something which clearly my brain is not going to enlighten me on today. But they were saying about how for the task they were doing, they were spending up to 2 hours training the chatbot and feeding the chatbot information before asking it the question. It was something a little bit more intense than a Facebook ad. I do remember that. But I was like, wow, that's getting your prep and your research, or teaching your prep and your research in order. The other thing which resonated both from was one of my biggest takeaways from interviewing Jonny about it, and we're currently trialing an AI tool that creates podcast written content around your episodes. And I mean, we're on about our second episode of playing around with it. So we're very much in the learning thing. But for me and for the team, where it seems to be delivering the best is in giving us ideas and giving us inspiration rather than being a copy and paste set of notes. And I'm not sure yet if that's helpful or not helpful in some of the text fields for the podcast. So it's an interesting one. Jonny, anything you've learned about AI since the podcast, if you can remember what we talked about, that you want to add in?
Nothing I want to build on from what I discussed in the podcast. Just to again reiterate, it's really there to save you time. If you're spending 2 hours prepping the AI, that's not saving you time. Probably not the best way to use it. I quite like the way Aggie's using it to sort of generate those ideas. That is a good use of AI in my mind. What I would never want to do is just get to write the copy and then copy and paste that into the ads. That will never get you great results. It does require that human element still.
Yeah. And when we were talking on the podcast, you were playing around with an image AI tool as well, which at the time you'd set up, you didn't have results on. So could you, for those who haven't yet listened to your podcast episode, which of course you're all going to go and do straight after this, but for those who haven't done it, could you give us a quick little bit of background for that video AI tool or the image AI tool you were using, and then tell us a bit about whether it works or not?
Yeah, so in that instance, this client is selling a product and they have a licensed character from popular culture that's part of the brand. And we wanted to use that character in the ads. And what we could do is go out and buy the costume and set up photography, but that's time consuming and expensive. So we've simply used this AI tool to generate images with the character instead. And it's allowed us to very quickly and very cheaply produce lots of different creatives with the character in. And we have been testing that, and results so far, I haven't got any numbers, but the results have been good. We've seen really good engagement. We've seen really good sales from it. And importantly, no one's complained about it, even when the image has been obviously AI generated. My concern was that users would kick back against that, but so far we haven't seen that. So it's allowed us to produce these decent quality creatives cheaply and quickly, which is what we were looking to achieve with it. As for how it's doing versus traditional creatives that aren't produced via AI, about the same, really. Some do well, some don't do quite so well. You don't know till you test. The real benefit is the time and money saving element.
Yeah, because and that, especially on an agency side, or if you're working cross team in your business, the reduction of hassle that goes into your relationships. You're not having to say to the client, can you get a picture of the character with this? Have you got a picture of the character with that? Can you add this to your photo shoot? Can you ask the brand for this? You're going, are you happy for us to use AI to generate some images we think will work? Maybe they want sign off, maybe they don't, but it just speeds up, it just reduces that hassle factor, which is always a good thing. Images, a whole other fascinating area of the AI spectrum. So anything else to add on AI before we shuffle on from that topic?
I've also
No?
used it to generate images that you wouldn't need AI for. So I really wanted to create an ad for a client who have a product that makes it easier to do a thing on your laptop. I can't really give specifics because I haven't asked their permission. But for that image, I wanted an image of a guy angry at his laptop and then an image of a guy happy with his laptop. And I spent ages crawling through stock images, couldn't quite find what I was looking for. And after about half an hour, I was like, why don't I just use Midjourney? Within about 2 minutes, I had exactly what I was looking for. And even though it's something that you could get from elsewhere really quickly and really cheaply, it just made it even quicker and even cheaper.
Oh yeah, it's so easy to lose at half an afternoon to trying to find the perfect image on a stock image site. So I like that one too. Okay, so one of the things which I've been thinking about a lot this year is about how the advertising landscape in e-commerce has diversified more than it's ever diversified before. When I first started off, online ads, you had Google and Bing, which wasn't even called Bing then, that was it. Bing was never useful in the UK. And then we got to a point where we had Facebook ads that worked. We also that kind of rise and do what it does. And then for the first time, I'm almost 20 years in this industry now. For the first time, it feels like we've got loads of options. There's TikTok. I've heard people are doing it well on Reddit. I've heard people are doing good on Spotify and all kinds of different platforms. And obviously, alongside that, we've seen issues, let's say, with performance levels on the traditional Google and Facebook side of things. So the question I'm going to ask you guys in a second, which I'm going to talk to the audience quickly whilst you can have a couple of 30 seconds to think about it, is it still possible to exhaust your budget with Facebook ads? Or should we be expanding outside of that? And how can a brand know if they should be expanding outside of that? Just because I realise that's a massive question, whilst you all have a quick think about that. If anyone out there watching live, thank you for joining us live. If you have a question you would like to ask us, add it in the chat thing or the comment thing that's either on LinkedIn, which I think is still not working, or YouTube, and get it in quickly because we're only going to be here for about another 20 minutes, which means we're not going to have a lot of time for your questions. So make sure you get those questions into us quickly. So who would like to go first on my epic question? can you spend all of your budget on Facebook ads at the moment? It may be this is a really quick yes, 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 or no, no, no.
I think it really depends. So it depends what your budget is. So if you're just starting out, I would say keep it simple. And it really depends what you're selling as well. So if you're first to market with a really nifty thing that no one's seen before, definitely don't go do Google ads because no one knows that your thing exists, so no one's searching for it. Facebook all the way for something like that. If it's in a niche that is quite competitive or well known, and I always use jewelry as an example because everyone can relate to that, then I would say you've got many more options. I am, however, a bit of a traditionalist in that I think a lot of brands can get distracted by all the different options there are, and sometimes they dilute their budget a bit too much. Or, you know, a really good example of this was kind of when the iOS 14 update happened. There's a massive freak out in the industry. You know, e-commerce brands were panicking, pulling all their money out of Meta and doing weird and wonderful things with their budget, and then realized that actually nothing compares to Meta. It really can't be replaced with anything else. So me personally, I always recommend, and it's probably because I'm sort of Meta first anyway, start with Meta and Google. They're kind of like the traditional pair that I would recommend first. And then I kind of layer on Pinterest and TikTok later, once those two are kind of working well together and getting strong results and the brand scaling. With when it comes to Spotify and Reddit, I've not actually advertised on those before. I've heard great things for podcasts to promote on Spotify. I don't actually know of anyone that has advertised on Reddit, but I'd be really interested to know how that works and what kind of brands or businesses have had success there.
Yeah, I love your point in particular about be focused with your ad platform choices, because they're all their own little crazy world that you have to learn, and you know you need a certain amount of budget to make them work. Ali, you are grinning away there. What would you like to add in?
Yeah, no, yeah, I think 100% don't dilute your budget too much. Like I've loved hearing that from Aggie. We're finding really good success with treating Facebook as kind of your top of funnel, and then securing the deal, sealing the deal down in email marketing. So it's that's kind of, but obviously with Google and things, very much if you're new to the market, then Facebook, just raising your brand awareness works really well. But I think the main thing is don't try and having a go on everything. Concentrate on one thing and then move to the next.
Yeah, and I think I'm really glad you brought up the email side of it there, because I think as e-commerce brands, we get so focused on the sale. And actually sometimes by changing the target of the algorithm and saying I want email addresses or I want website visits, we can end up tapping into a different audience, and that go top of funnel, get the click on Facebook, get the sign up, and then do the nurturing and everything on email can be a very much more cost effective way to work. Another thing to test, everybody. Jonny, what do you think? Keep all the budget on Facebook, or should we be diversifying in 2023?
I still think Facebook is the creme de la creme of paid social, and Google is the creme de la creme of paid search. Most of the platforms struggle to deliver the same number of conversions. Microsoft Ads is not a worthy competitor of Google. It's there as well. It's a supplement to Google. LinkedIn Ads is useful if you're in the B2B space. Other paid social platforms, my experience is they struggle a little bit. I have tried Reddit Ads. I've tried it with a client whose product is really well suited to the Reddit audience, and it did not go very well, and we abandoned that one. I think most of the platforms, if you want to diversify, it depends on your customer base and where they are. Where do they socialize on the internet? If they socialize on TikTok, then yes, go on TikTok ads. If they go on Twitter for some reason, yes, use Twitter ads for some reason. But the primary places you should be putting your budget for paid ads should be Facebook and Google.
Stick to the core is what we're saying today. For now. I think it's going to be. I personally am looking forward to seeing the case studies that come out January, February, March next year, and see where it's been worth putting your ad spend. yeah, very much looking forward to that. Right. Aggie, you mentioned iOS 14, which, which has reminded me there's a new iOS update in the mix. Very, very new. So you are all welcome to say to me, Chloe, it's way too early to talk about that, because it probably is, but I figure I'd bring it up. iOS 17, we know it's got primarily the email marketers, knickers in a twist, not getting as much noise around the advertising side of things. Is it something we let's phrase it this way. Is it something we should care about when it comes to our ads? Do we need to worry about iOS 17 or not at the moment, from what you've seen and heard so far? Anyone brave enough to tackle the Apple operating system question?
From what little bit I know, and from what little bit I remember from what I know, it's not a massive concern at this point. Anybody browsing in incognito mode on Safari, on their phone or on their laptop, we will lose visibility of conversions. However, I don't think there's many people using incognito mode for their day-to-day browsing. I think they mainly use it for porn. So I can't see it having a big impact on performance.
Talking from personal experience there, Jonny, or just from industry research? You do sometimes think, though, that an incognito mode has been made for two audiences. One, the marketer who's trying to track things and test things without being tracked, and two, the porn viewer. That's the entire user base, I think, for that functionality. See, I'm making a note of timestamps of interesting questions. Should I put down incognito mode?
No, you should
probably not. No, you're right. I probably shouldn't. So you must derail me as well. Aggie, Ali, anything you would add to the iOS 17 scenario?
I look at this a little bit differently. So I think the iOS 14 palaver, let's call it, was a massive turmoil, wasn't it, in the market in 2021, and it's still into 2022. And I guess there are a lot of brands didn't make it. It was just such a big upheaval for everyone. There was a benefit from this, though, that I think brands and marketers are seeing it now. The focus turned away from microscopic analytics of things and really kind of saying this had got this sale on this day and things like that, which was never perfect. But I think we look back with rose-tinted glasses, say it was the perfect world. It wasn't at all. And it was very much everyone focused on their audiences and their campaign setups and things like that. And often there were just really bad ads around. Like, no one really looked at the marketing that they were actually putting out into the world. The creatives were terrible. The copy was terrible. And now I think marketers, like the good ones, are there. Like, they're making bank. They're making really good money now because they're really honed in that skill of marketing. So now I think no matter what updates happen, because they're going to keep coming, it's going to be a cookieless world soon, or we just won't have that anymore. So I think it's good training for everyone. Whatever update happens, as long as you have your marketing fundamentals in place, your ads will work. It's just how you're going to be able to track things. So I'm not that fazed by whatever the update happens to be. But I do agree with Jonny. The fact that it's incognito on one browser, I don't know what impact it will realistically have. It won't be as catastrophic as what we had before.
Yeah, I feel like iOS 14 caught Facebook in particular napping and gave us all the kick up the arse as an industry that we needed to actually bother to care what our customers wanted to hear about us from and to make us raise that creative game. I feel like it, as all adversity does, I think it's made us stronger and better. Ali, how any thoughts on these random things you're going to talk about?
I think it's just going to be business as usual. So yeah, just we're still going to be using all the on-platform data and putting all our efforts into the copy and the creative. But yeah, I'm not really fazed. I'm putting my trust in Meta that they know.
That's crazy.
It took them a while, but they have now sorted out basically the iOS 14. But before we get into too much of an iOS wormhole, if you're watching and you're going, the email problem? What email problem? Or you're going, what's going on? We are hoping over the next couple of months to have episodes on Keep Optimizing. One diving into the ads impact, which it seems might be quite an easy one. Not too many takeaways from, not too much to do work coming away from that one. And another one going deep into the email side of things, where there's an awful lot more impact, because it's not just with email, it's not just the incognito, they're also stripping, identifying information from clicks, from emails, and a couple of other apps as well. But that's not relevant today. That's just to let you know I'm working on finding amazing guests to take us into that, to upskill me, because I'd far rather interview someone about it than read about it, let's be honest, and to upskill all of you, because you can just listen to it. Right, that's more than enough podcast plugging going on. Right, guys, we've got about 5 minutes or so left, which I reckon means there's a good couple of minutes each, which I know the maths doesn't work out, bear with me, people, for each of you to let us know if you were a brand person right now looking towards Q4 and peak, and working out what to tell your agency to do, or working out what to do yourselves with that kind of July, August, September testing period that we've got coming up. Because everybody, now is when you should be prepping your peak. What would your advice be for someone in those shoes at the moment? I guess, what are you advising your clients at the moment as we look towards peak? Ali, you're looking very thoughtful there. Should we come to you first on this one? What are you talking about in the peak angle at the moment?
Well, no, we're just, for looking ahead, we're just kind of concentrating on making sure we're getting those feedback with clients for offline conversions and using that kind of data to feed in, and just building up our audiences and making sure that all our audiences, our lookalike, our customers and everything is there. So videos, we're updating everything, just making sure that we're kind of prepped for every change.
Get all those basics in place.
Yeah, ducks in a row.
So easy to look at the top and then totally forget a misnamed lookalike or something. Just totally sends you off track. And offline data, a lot of people aren't bringing offline data back in. So can you clarify what you mean by that?
Well, with e-commerce, it's uploading those orders weekly and just making sure, because we're still finding that we're not tracking all the orders. So when we're feeding back to clients, about how purchases and things are going, we're still finding that they're picking up sort of up to 25-50% that Facebook hasn't tracked. So, if you want your happy client, when you're telling them their ROAS and things, it's kind of making sure we've got everything in the full picture.
Getting all that admin sorted. Brilliant. Thank you for explaining that. I know a few listeners are going, what am I supposed to be doing offline? So you've just, probably some of them are still going, what? But you've eased the minds of at least some of them. Aggie, you look like you're eager to give us your perspective on the prep for the coming peak season.
So I am having conversations with my clients now, and we'll be having proper Q4 strategy days in August to get them actually implementing things. But the things that I've asked them to prepare now is audit the inventory. So what have your best sellers been, and what will you be focusing on in Q4, and to make sure they actually have their orders and stock ready, because brands I've worked with before, they'll sell out too quickly, or they didn't appreciate that they couldn't order back in stock, stuff back in stock. So it's just like the operational side, which lots of brands don't really focus on that much, because they focus so much on the marketing side. So I'm just asking them to get all their ducks in a row now for that. And then we're going to be focusing a lot on list building from August onwards. So as well as having their usual evergreen ads running, we'll be focusing a lot of budget on list building, and that'll be all the way up to Black Friday kind of season, where we'll be doing more promotions and things like that. I guess they always have like a small amount of their budget allocated to doing that, but it kind of ramps up quite a lot from August onwards. And I think a lot of brands do that. I've actually started noticing quite a few of those ads already. So a few brands are kind of ramping up their list building already. Some of them disguised as summer sales, sign up for VIP access to summer sales. But, as an advertiser, you know what they're up to. So, I think brands are becoming a lot savvier about how important that email list is in the run up to Christmas. So that's what
just
I'll
be clear,
on.
You're talking about, when you say list building, we're not talking about audience list on Facebook. We are talking about getting the email signups.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah, and If you can get an email sign up before Black Friday, it's going to cost you an awful lot less in ad spend than trying to battle for ad space the week of Black Friday. It's the sensible strategy for one's budgets. So thank you for bringing that one up, Aggie. That is a massive top tip. Jonny, our final perspective from you, please, sir. What should we be doing in our run up to Q4 and peak?
A little tip for you: if you have an ad creative that's performing really well for you and you intend to be pushing it really hard in the Christmas season, put it in front of your existing customers right now. They will comment on it. They'll say lots of nice things about the product, about you, about how they like it. Once you've got all those build up, you can then push it in front of a top of funnel audience over Christmas time. That added social proof can help improve your conversion rates.
Love it. Bit of live social proof, and presumably get in there and comment back as well, so you seem like a brand who cares. You look like that should go without saying, Jonny. We all know that doesn't go without saying. Well, look, guys, thank you. So, actually, sorry, Jonny, that was a very quick one. Did you have another one for us, or was that your blinding tip for the Q4 period?
I am very efficient in giving information.
I am not today at all. So it's good. It's a good job you're here. Right. Thank you all so much. Thank you guys who've tuned in live. For those of you watching the replay, great to have you here as well. And also for those of you who tried to watch on LinkedIn and who are now watching the replay, sorry about that. Don't know why it went wrong. I might now be a LinkedIn top retail voice, but I have no control over their technology. So thank you all for watching. Jonny, Aggie, Ali, thank you all for joining us here. Now, what do I need to tell you all before we say goodbye? Here we go. I need to tell you all that you've just been watching Jonny from Digital Gearbox, and you can get a free one-on-one ads consultation with them via keepopt.com/digital gearbox. Aggie Meroni from White Bee Digital, you can find them at whitebeedigital.com, and you can also find Aggie on LinkedIn. Just search Aggie Meroni and you'll find her. And we had the lovely Ali Williams from Pink Leopard, our super sub stand-in. They're doing a free TikTok webinar that you'll find at pl.pinkleopard.co.uk/TikTok-webinar-2023. So what are we talking about next month? Well, in July, we're talking about a bit of a softer subject. One I know we all talk about how you should build community, but actually building it is a little bit more challenging. So we're going to be looking across 4 episodes at different ways of building community in your e-commerce business, right the way from on the 12th, we've got Janice Thomas, who's an actual retailer. Don't often get actual retailers on Keep Optimizing, but we've got one coming up this month who's talking about how they're using a Facebook group, so an actual community place to build community in that business. We're also going to be talking about how you can use email to build community. We'll be talking about the power of word of mouth, and we're going to be talking to a phenomenal community builder, Lottie Unwin, who will be talking about how to go about building community in the purest way possible, but a very, very powerful way too. That all kicks off next Wednesday, so I will hear you on the podcast for all of that. I've already recorded all of them, so you're in for a treat. If community is on your 2023 or 2024 to-do list, you should really be tuning in over the next 5 Wednesdays. For now, though, thank you all for joining us for this Q&A webinar. It's been brilliant chatting with our experts, and I hope you have a lovely rest of the day, whatever time or wherever it is that you're watching this session. Bye, everybody.